Imagine waking up one morning to find that your trash bin is glowing, and upon closer inspection, you realize that something in that mess has the power to save millions of lives. Sounds like science fiction, right? But this bizarre scenario actually happened. It was a mistake, a chance encounter with the unknown that would ultimately reshape the world of medicine as we know it. This is the incredible, accidental story of how penicillin was discovered and how it forever altered the course of human history. Our story begins in 1928 at St. Mary's Hospital in London, where a young bacteriologist named Alexander Fleming was studying the deadly bacteria that caused infections. Fleming, a man of habit, had been conducting research on these bacteria for years, but there was little progress. Infections were still ravaging the wounded soldiers from World War I, and doctors had few tools to fight them. Fleming, overwhelmed by his relentless work, finally left his lab for a much-needed vacation. But when he returned, he would find something unexpected, something that would change everything. Upon his return, Fleming noticed something strange. One of the Petri dishes, where he had been growing colonies of Staphylococcus bacteria, had been left uncovered. But it wasn't the bacteria that caught his attention. No, it was the greenish-blue mold that had appeared in the dish. Something about it seemed different. Curious, he examined it under the microscope, and there, in the clear ring surrounding the mold, was something remarkable. The bacteria had stopped growing. In fact, the bacteria in its path had been completely destroyed. Fleming couldn't believe his eyes. The mold was doing something extraordinary. It was killing the bacteria. What kind of mold could do that? This was no ordinary mold. This was penicillin. And just like that, a revolution in medicine had begun. Not because someone set out to find it, but because of a simple twist of fate. Fleming was no stranger to the unexpected, but this discovery went beyond anything he had imagined. He continued to experiment with the mold, naming it Penicillin after the Penicillium mold genus. But it wasn't until years later, in the 1940s, that his discovery would gain the attention it truly deserved. The impact of penicillin was immediate. Infections that once claimed lives became treatable. Surgical procedures became safer as the threat of deadly post-surgical infections faded. Pneumonia, scarlet fever, and other once fatal diseases were now within the reach of modern medicine. Antibiotics were born, and the world had been given a fighting chance against the unseen enemies within. At the time of Fleming's discovery, the medical community wasn't immediately convinced of penicillin's potential. After all, antibiotics were unheard of. But as World War II raged on, soldiers were dying from simple infections, ones that could have been easily treated with this newfound wonder drug. The race was on to figure out how to mass-produce penicillin. Enter Howard Florey and Sir Norman Heatley, two brilliant scientists from Oxford. Together, with the help of American pharmaceutical companies, they figured out how to extract and mass-produce penicillin in large quantities. But there was still one problem. The mold needed to be grown in enormous amounts, and the process wasn't easy. But through persistence and determination, they succeeded. As the world faced the horrors of war, penicillin emerged as a miracle cure, first saving soldiers, then civilians, and eventually changing the course of medicine forever. By 1944, penicillin had become widely available to the public. The impact of penicillin was immediate. Infections that once claimed lives became treatable. Surgical procedures became safer as the threat of deadly post-surgical infections faded. Pneumonia, scarlet fever, and other once fatal diseases were now within the reach of modern medicine. Antibiotics were born, and the world had been given a fighting chance against the unseen enemies within. Fleming, Florey, and Heatley's work forever altered the landscape of healthcare, saving millions of lives and sparking the development of other antibiotics. Penicillin didn't just change medicine, it changed the world, but it all began with an accident. A mold that grew unnoticed in a discarded Petri dish. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest discoveries happen when we least expect them, when we take the time to look at the world around us and see something that others might miss. And that's the story of how a simple twist of fate reshaped the world. The next time you hear of a medical breakthrough, remember that it may not always come from meticulous planning. It may come from a mistake, but it's a mistake worth making. So, what's your accidental discovery? Who knows? The next game-changing idea might just be waiting to be found in the most unexpected of places. Keep your eyes open. You never know what's out there. If you find this video interesting, please kindly like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the notification icon for more new videos from Beyond Atomic Minds. Thanks.